trying to implement, you know, $500 million cut next year. So if I think it's hard to get classes now, and if I think it's my financial aid is getting cut even more. So if I'm going through that right now, I can only imagine what's to come with the $500 million cut.
The ridiculous amount of perks that our CSU presidents receive. You know, Chancellor Reed, what his ridiculous salary. You know, if they say there's no money, then cut from the top. And
do you know how much his salary is?
Yeah, he makes more than the president of the United States.
It's about $450,000.
Last year, everyone raise your hand, make some noise. 10% increase in our tuition this semester and another 5% next semester. This can't happen. Education is turning into a commodity only for the upper class, only for the rich. You cannot have a democracy without an informed citizenry. We cannot vote for our own interests if we don't know what our interests are.
We got them CSU higher education budget cut blues.
Yeah, pretty much, bro. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Whose university? Our university. Whose university? Our university.
The president's being paid way too much, and she's not fighting for us. She's just being paid by the state to do what she has to do. But
You mean President Kester here?
yes, exactly.
You don't get the sense that she's on our side.
No, she's not. She said it herself.
What did she say?
She's paid by the government, and she's not for the students.
Oviatt rally at 2, people. We need everybody that we can get. Come on, join the coalition, please. Oh, the better. Walk out, 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 walk out. Democracy, informed citizenry, this is what we need. Walk out, walk out, walk out.
All of us as students need our education. It's not fair. It's run by a capitalist society, and we're fighting for it right now.
Is there another way that we ought to run it besides capitalism?
Yeah, we just don't know. But that's not right. It's not right.
But we need the classes in order to study that, right?
Exactly. But they're cutting classes.
The teacher walked in, and we saw the protesters walk by, and all of us walked out. And actually, the teacher was encouraging it. The professor encouraged it. He said, walk out.
How many from your class came out?
About 25 students. Yeah, and they're all spread out. Our generation needs to have a revolution. We got to do something different.
I remember when I first started going to school here, I'd say probably tuition was in the $1,500, $1,600 range. Now it's damn near $3,000. And you go to places like the pub, you see flat screen TVs, we got new buildings all over the place, new parking lots, so it kind of makes you think where your money goes. And if it is, you know, private investors, a lot of, you know, outside money coming in, how come they can't use that to go towards our tuition as opposed to, you know, all these new little perks?
We have bigger numbers, and what do we do? What do we do?
They're increasing tuition and prices and everything, and they're decreasing classes. How does that make sense?
Way too much power.
It makes perfect sense if you realize what they want to do is break public education.
They want to uneducate the people.
Again.
This one professor wrote in the LA Times that, you know, some students, she thinks it's a good idea that the price of education should go up so it weeds out the students who don't really want to be here, who don't really want their education. And to me, yes, exactly, sir. And to me, that is, you know, bullshit. Because I am not a silent Asian.
You can make history as students
like we did. You're fighting the same fight that we fought. When I first came to this school 40 years ago, 400 students from Northridge went to jail. The first felony prosecutions of students in the United States took place on this campus.
The eyes of the world are watching what's taking place in California today. Among the people here to join you is a man who walked with Martin Luther King. It's a man who spent years in jail for his convictions.
Society, nations, schools, universities are supposed to be here primarily to serve the needs and the potential of our being human and becoming more human than we've ever imagined was possible for any of us. That's the role of society and governments and institutions. It has no other, they have no other major purpose. Education, therefore, is a human right. But what's going on now in the United States and in California specifically is that plantation capitalism has determined that we do not need education for human competency and human living. They want education primarily to create people who will be the nuts and bolts of an economy where people are property and consumers and people are not people.
Wake up! Walk out! Wake up! Walk out! That's what peaceful protest rallies. Are we all on the same page? Yes. Peaceful. That's our biggest weapon. Our voice. Keep that in your mind. Okay, so when you go out here and you demonstrate, we're members of the community. We're all on the same team here. 10 seconds after it's hey, hey! Ho, ho!
Government hates you. Your government hates you. It's a massive movement to voice our discontent with this whole ridiculous fee hikes that are going on and budget cuts. We're getting less for more, and obviously we don't like that.
We're fighting for our rights, for education.
This is what this country's made of, man. This is what it's all about. Just walking out and standing up for something you believe in.
The budget cuts are affecting the sign language programs because we're having bad interpreters be paid at a lower rate, and deaf students are complaining because there's not enough skill for these interpreters. So really, this protest is also the budget cuts within programs for the National Center on Deafness, and they need to pay interpreters their actual rate for which they worked hard for.
And why are you marching today?
Who are you?
I'm a journalism student. Who are you?
I'm a professor in Central American Studies. What is this film for?
This is for the world, to hear the story of the students and the faculty.
I'm sorry, I don't know you, so I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thanks a lot. Solidarity, power to the people, right?
So everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good.
So what do you think of what's going on today?
It's pretty crazy. It's a good thing. Raise awareness. It's a great thing.
And what do people need to be aware of?
How their money's spent, who they're voting for, what kind of process is involved in the budget, and what our education means to us.
What's it mean to you?
It means opportunity.
I am here for affordable education for all.
Have you been impacted by the budget cuts?
Indeed I have. I've been forced to take a year off. I should have graduated a year ago. I believe it's patriotic to want your country to be educated, and that's why I'm here.
It's unfair that they keep increasing the price of to get an education. It's just not fair. It's important for students to stand up and professors and let them know that we are not going to tolerate this anymore.
Transfer students, the majority, do not get classes. They have to go back to the community college to either get some classes or just wait another year and then get classes.
So people come here thinking they're going to get their education here, and they don't. They end up having to put it together piecemeal, a little bit here, a little bit there.
Exactly.
It takes a lot more than 4 years.
Which ends up into, if you're a transfer student, 3 to 4 years. And if you start as a freshman, it could be 5 to 6 because there are no classes available.
We're just here for the protest, supporting our fellow students.
Have you been impacted by the budget cuts?
I mean, yeah, because our tuition is going up, so my parents have to pay more every semester.
What do we want? Education! When do we want it?
I think we should continue the project that we started last year and keep doing it. The budget situation is actually just getting worse. So I think what the students are doing are actually really great.
I'm a graduate of I'm an alumni at CSUN, so I'm just here for sport, you know, tuition fees, the hikes.
Have things changed since you were here?
Yeah, the fees have gone up.
I don't get financial aid, so it's very hard for me to even come up with the money to even afford college. And if it goes up, I'm gonna have to go to community college.
It not only affects us as students right now, it affects future generations. If we do not let people hear our voices, the future generation is doomed because we will not have put a structure for them to be able to get higher education. So it's important that we make the change now for the betterment of their future.
It's very important to do what we as students are entitled to do, which is fight for what we believe in. And I think that all students are equal, have the equality to just have the education that we all deserve in the U.S.
What brings you out today?
I don't know.
Just happened to be passing this way and fell in with a bunch of people?
No, America makes way too much money. We're too rich of a nation to have to deal with stuff like this. The government can pay for everyone's student loans if they just pull out of Iraq like 1 week early, for an example. We know we have the money to pay for everyone's education. The fact that we don't is the biggest crime of it all. It makes it even worse.
Brother, I think you do know what you're doing out here.
Yeah.
Students marched by the New Valley Performing Arts Center, a $125 million performing arts complex. They had the money for this, but they don't have the money to hold the line on fees. Somehow, something just doesn't seem right about that.
With this economy, not a lot of people are working, and with no jobs and tuition increasing, how are we supposed to pay for the school? If I do end up graduating, and I know I will be the first graduating college student for my family. So I have to voice this out for my brothers and sisters.
There's students out there who don't even have financial aid. Some of my friends aren't here today because they can't come to school. They have to work practically all year to be able to register for the next year. So 1 year off, 1 year they work, the other year, who knows what happens.
And the CSU is supposed to be the affordable one.
Exactly.
What's the better world you'd like to see?
The better world I would like to see without greedy, power-hungry scum in office.
So what brings you out today?
Everywhere we go! These budget cuts.
Have they affected you?
Hell yeah, they're affecting me. I haven't gotten into my classes. I'm graduating late. I'm not getting any kind of help from the fucking government. So my graduation date is postponed because my classes are my major sociology is so impacted that I haven't even, all my classes are full of 70 students, one professor per class. It makes it impossible to learn anything.
Your sign is quite compelling.
Yes.
Can you give me a little more on that?
I'm a student. This is my 3rd year at CSUN. I'm studying to become a teacher. I'm well aware of the budget cuts that are going on in education, both for students and for teachers. And I know of the wars that are going on and how much money is going into the wars. And all that money can be used for education for the students and the teachers.
Sir, I noticed you cheering in support of the students.
Because I have 2 kids. I have 2 teenagers that are going to college next year.
And you want them to be able to go to CSU?
Exactly, across the street.
And if the fees go up too high, they won't be able to afford it?
No, I cannot afford it.
Any other thoughts for the student protesters?
I hope it gets bigger and bigger. And somebody will listen eventually.
When I say student, you say power. Student! Student!
Have you been impacted by the budget cuts?
I have. I'm a graduate student here. When I started school in 2006, I paid $1,600 a semester. Now it's up to $4,800 a semester.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
why is it important for the little one to be out here so at such a young age?
All right, so in 5 years they say that the tuition is going to go up 100% of what it is now, right? So if we're at $5,000 now for a year of college, what do you think is going to be in 18 years?
So you're planning for the future. You're thinking about how in the world
am I going to afford to put in for college?
Are you a student here?
I am a student.
I'm with the Green Party, and we fully support the students and their demands. And also, as alumni of the College 74, I also feel that this type of protest is necessary to prevent further cuts and the eradication of public education.
Back in '74, was there a political consciousness on campus? Was it awake?
It was much bigger.
I think this country might very well go fascist, but even fascist countries like Germany came out of them very progressive, learned a lot of lessons.
So you think it may get worse before it gets better? A lot worse.
I think racism is alive and well.
I'm supposed to be in class, but today I felt it necessary to come out and represent for the student movement. I also work with high school students in the continuation high schools, and in a way they're affected too, because now they feel that it's impossible for them to go to college because they can't afford it. And that's really the reality of most of the students out here, is that it's getting too expensive for them to even attend.
So they might lose hope.
They might lose hope.
Give up on the dream of going to college.
Definitely.
And do you think that what's happening here today can help turn that tide?
Maybe, that's what we're hoping for, but in the past we've seen not a lot of, results out of last year's protest, but we're going to continue fighting, continue struggling.
I think it's one step in a number of steps that the students need to take their message to the people that need to hear it.
And do the undergrads understand that it's a series of steps, or was there a disappointment last year when last year's protest didn't seem to produce the outcome they wanted? Do people lose heart? How do you keep them motivated?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's the key thing, is how do you sustain something, right, so that it becomes an engine for change. But I think it's always a learning process, so I think students learn from last year.
What's brought you back this year?
Same thing. Nothing has changed yet. We're still having budget cuts and teachers getting fired. 5,000 letters of intent to fire teachers of LAUSD were sent out 2 weeks ago.
What do you think about what's going on here today?
I think it's exactly what students ought to do, is to find a positive way to articulate their stance about important public issues.
Now, some might perceive that administrators and students are on the opposite sides of a given issue. Do you see solidarity here?
Yeah, they wouldn't know Cal State Northridge.
We are united, and we're sick of all the cutbacks. We're sick of our generation and future generations being at risk and not getting what they deserve.
I'm out here to support the students and show our legislators that we do care about our education and we do care about the policies that they make.
A lot of people might have the idea that college students are disaffected and depoliticized.
I think we've proved otherwise.
We can do this every year. You can do it here in Sacramento. I've been here for 5 years, and we did it for 5 years. What do we got? Shit. Let's be real. Come on. I'm not talking about let's go burn the fucking house or kill a cop. No. What we're saying is let's do something strategic every fucking day, every week until we got what we want.
We need to come out to the ASC meetings, to KPAC meetings, to MENTA meetings, to AS meetings, to BSU meetings, to SQE meetings, to Young Dems meetings, to LGBTA meetings. So the LAPD has been out here, and they're watching us, and they know that we're fighting for their kids too, and that we're fighting for the education of their future, and for their social services, and that this is for them too. And we appreciate the fact that they're a part of this community. Honestly, they vote just like us. CSUN students ain't nothing like these men. CSUN students ain't nothing like these men.
Any comment on how the protest was this year?
It was a great protest.